been to California, seen the sights and people there.
These beautiful stones that came off the mountain here. What are they used for? Protection. For the distribution panel for electricity. Okay, why not? If you've got it, use it.
So we were hoping to take a bus tour to go up this mountain, around to the front and the other side of Crazy Horse Monument, but unfortunately there's lightning in the area today, so that's currently on hold until they get a report from the National Weather saying it's clear.
We're hopeful that maybe in the next half hour to hour that we will be able to go ahead and get up close and personal to Crazy Horse. When we entered, I asked to see what had been going on recently in the last couple of years, and I guess they're working on the knuckle and finger out there in front on that high plateau to the right. And over to the left, up on top of Crazy Horse's head there, you can see some scaffolding maybe, and up that area they start working on his hairline. So here's a good sign. I see a bus coming this way. It doesn't look to be electrified. Maybe we're running on electricity, who knows? But hopefully we'll be able to take that bus trip soon. So let's go ahead and go in the gift shop and see what we see in there, okay?
Ooh, gift shop.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll follow you. Follow your leader. Gorgeous facilities in here. And it reads underneath the sign, "My fellow chiefs and I would like the white man to know the red man has great heroes too. Chief Henry Standing Bear, in his 1939 invitation to carve Crazy Horse Memorial." Little theaters here. Looks like going to be a lot of artifacts. Should be very interesting.
All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Crazy Horse Memorial. My name is Whitney Rencountre II. I come from the Hunkpati Dakota Oyate, also known as the Crow Creek Sioux Tribe, right here in central South Dakota. For the next 45 minutes or so, my wife and daughters and I, we're going to share a little bit about our culture through song and dance and storytelling and the history of the beautiful Black Hills. And I want to say thank you for joining us here today. You know, our people, we are known as the Sioux Tribe. How many of you have heard of the Sioux Tribe? And we prefer to call ourselves Lakota, Dakota, or Nakota. And I'll tell you why. Lakota means allies, and Sioux means enemies and snakes. That's why we prefer Lakota. And so, but the French fur traders, when they came down here, they gave us this name, the Nadawi Sioux. They cut it in half and just said Sioux. Nonetheless, our people, we've been living here for centuries. This is the birthplace of the Lakota people. In our way of life, one of the greatest gifts that you could give to somebody was a buffalo hide, a buffalo robe. Because at one time there was 30 to 60 million buffalo that roamed here. When some of the early settlers first came through this area, they said when they came across the first buffalo herd, they had to wait 8 days for one buffalo herd to pass before they could continue. How many of you can wait 3 seconds at a stoplight? But we got food, clothing, and shelter all from the buffalo. So that's why today, if you guys happen to stop in at Walmart right here in Lakota territory, there's usually a lot of Lakotas in there because it's historically in us to get everything at one place, one shot. And so our people, when we talk about the 7 sacred sites throughout the Black Hills, north of us there's a place, today we call it Black Elk Peak. This is the highest point in the region. And during the springtime, our people would hike up Black Elk Peak to welcome and to mark the new year. So that's the new year for us, is the spring solstice. Today, many of us celebrate, just like every other person in the world, January 1st. But our ancestors recognized that at springtime, or maybe during the Sundance, that was the new year for you. So these are some of the traditions of our people. Now there's also a place over here by Sturgis, South Dakota called Bear Butte. In our language we say Mato, Paha. There's a place over here into Montana, kind of Wyoming area. We call this Mato Tipila, also known as Devil's Tower. South of us, there's a place called Wind Cave. That's where the creation story comes from for our traditional stories. 1849. That is when the California gold rush was happening in California here. But there was whispers that there also might be gold in the Black Hills. And so our leaders, with the other leaders of the Northern Plains tribes, traveled to Fort Laramie, Wyoming in 1851, and we negotiated the protection of the Northern Plains. And the boundaries that were agreed upon was east bank of the Missouri River, right down central South Dakota, down to the North Platte River into Nebraska, over to the Bighorn Mountains into Wyoming, and back up through North Dakota and around. And this was a place where it was protected land for our people to hunt the buffalo, but most importantly, it protected the Black Hills from the gold rush. Now this lasted until 1868. That is when the Fort Laramie Treaty was revised, and it only included part of South Dakota, but it still included the Black Hills until the arrival of General George Armstrong Custer. Custer found gold in the Black Hills. The gold rush began. You could not keep the people out. So this led to the Black Hills Act. And for the Black Hills Act, this took away the Black Hills from our people and offered money in compensation. But our ancestors said, we cannot sell the homelands, the Chesapa Makoche, Pahasapa Makoche, the lands, the beautiful birthplace of our people. So to this day, we have never signed that agreement, and we've never taken the money to sell the Black Hills. Nonetheless, this established the reservations in South Dakota. For those of you that don't know what a reservation is, every federally recognized tribe across the nation, 562 plus federally recognized tribes, all have their own reservation. It's a small area of land where you had to live. You had to move there. There was no choice. But one of the original boundaries that were established for the tribes long ago, one of the clauses in that was if settlers came to live on that land, then the government agreed to pay rent payments to the tribe. Lease payments, as long as the grass is green and the river flows. And so they help our people with education, healthcare, housing, and others. But it's very bare minimum. And our people's lives changed forever when we went to the reservations. And so 100 million of our ancestors used to live here. In the 1800s, there was only 250,000 left. The Lakota people were in danger of becoming extinct. So Crazy Horse Sitting Bull, Ikpa, Duta, the leaders of our tribe, they met together with the Northern Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes, and they met up with Custer June 25th, 1876 at the Battle of Little Bighorn. And they took out Custer that day, protecting our people. We're ever grateful for the courage and the vision of Crazy Horse and others. Grandpa, why do you go to church every day if you don't know what they're talking about over there? And Grandpa said, I go to church every day because they're serving a lot of good food over there. Tired of commodities. But he said they all want the family to come with us. So they wanted us to attend that special day for grandfather. So we went to church with him that day. And they took him down to the Missouri River right by our reservation. Next thing you know it, they had Grandpa. And they dunked him in the water. And they pulled him up and they said, did you see the Lord? Grandpa didn't know what they asked him. So we had to translate. And he said, "Hia, no." So they dunked him again. Pulled him up. "Did you see the Lord?" Grandpa said, "Hia, no." So they dunked him again. This time they held him down a lot longer. And they pulled him up. They said, "Did you see the Lord?" Grandpa said, "Hia." And they were going to dunk him a fourth time. But Grandpa said, "Wait, hold on." In our language, he said, "Are you sure this is where he fell in?" And Grandma said, "Hey, you got baptized. You got a blessing. You're always getting mixed up." But that pretty much explains the relationship between the United States government and our ancestors. Don't understand one another. But I grew up on the Crow Creek Reservation right here in South Dakota. My wife grew up on the Standing Rock Reservation. And we see the struggles that our people are facing on the reservation each and every day. It's not a traditional way of life to our people. So we went to college, my wife and I, and we met at Black Hill State University many years ago. And we wanted to use education to help our people, because our leaders always say that there's good and bad in every culture, every race. It's up to you to use the good and discard the bad. Let's give a warm welcome to Jessie TakenAlive Rencountre.
Betu washte. Chante washe na betu zapi. Wichach betumpi we na Jessie TakenAlive Rencountre in machiapi. What I said to you today in my Lakota language is good day. I greet you with a heartfelt handshake. My Lakota name is Wichach Betumpiwi, which means woman who is born from the stars. Went off to college many years ago, met a handsome young man there, and he's been following me around since then. But we've been blessed to be married for many years now. We have 4 beautiful daughters, ages 18, 12, 10, and 3. I dye my hair. But my family and I, we travel all throughout the United States and up into Canada, attending many different powwows. And my 4 daughters and I, we all dance. My husband, he sings with various championship drum groups. But we also have the honor, the privilege, but I also say the responsibility to share our culture through presentations like we are today. In fact, this has taken us all over the world, including places like Italy, Switzerland, down in South America and Suriname. But my favorite place to do this is right here at home in these beautiful Black Hills. For centuries, our Lakota people and our ancestors were able to live an abundant type of lifestyle because of the buffalo. In the early reservation days, like my husband said, we went from having 30 to 60 million buffalo at one time to the early reservation days being less to 1,000, almost gone. And so our people were not able to hunt the buffalo because they were in a reservation and the buffalo were almost gone. Again, a drastic change in life for our Lakota people. Many prayers were sent around this time, as well as a prophecy that was made. And in this prophecy, they say that in 7 generations, our way of life as Lakota people will return. Not necessarily hunting the buffalo or living in teepees, but our culture, our language, and our beautiful ceremonies, those will come back to us. What a lot of people don't know, and that's okay because it's not taught in our public history classes or put into our history books, is that around this time, in the early reservation time, is that, probably because of lack of fear, or lack of understanding and maybe even some fear, is that our culture and our beautiful Lakota ceremonies were banned. We could not practice these ceremonies that only brought goodness, health, wellness, and helped us with transition in life. Around this time, in addition to this, was, boarding schools that were happening where our children as young as 5 years old were mandated to go to school, and sometimes it was hundreds of miles away from their families. And this is where they were stripped of their cultural identity as well as their indigenous language. It was not until 1978 when the American Indian Religious Freedom Act was passed, making it legal again for us to practice our culture and our ceremonies. Now, fast forward to 2019 today. It's an exciting time amongst our Lakota people because we say we are now amongst the 7th generation from when this prophecy was made. And we actually see this prophecy coming to fruition today.
people there walked the streets of sleepy sea towns, tasted salty ocean air.